Rodrigo putting all his faith in the newly released Hawlucha due to our flying fighting typing. We take neutral from Rock. Rodrigo commits his final Protect Shield Bastiodon. Absolutely loaded, gonna fire off Stone Edge. Number 2 Hawlucha, reasonably bulky. We tank that fairly well. The opponent pivots out into Victory Bell, attempting to catch the Flying Press, but the only thing they catch is an aerial ace to the face. Victory Bell gets one shot. Can we make the Flying Press? Yes, we can. Who was worried? Hawlucha absolutely deletes Grass Hole. So, welcome back to the channel. Recently, we did see the release of Hawlucha. Niantic did regional lock this Pokemon to Mexico. As you can tell by my very dreadful accent, I'm from the UK. I don't have access to it. However, my good friend and very talented battler, highly spicy trainer, Rodrigo, did submit some battles. Not only are we going to see the regional Hawlucha in action for the first time on the channel, Rodrigo, being the Spice Lord that he is running a triple regional theme team. So without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we do see Altaria in the lead. Zangoose not the best against Altaria. However, due to us running an ABB team, as well as a triple regional team with double weak to flying in the back, Rodrigo landed the Night Slash and switched out into the bulky Tropius. Tropius does take super effective from the Sky attack, however it's super bulky. We tank that reasonably well and return fire with the aerial ace. The GOAT, King IV, absolutely hates aerial ace, and you can see why. That did absolutely nothing. Niantic call it aerial ace, it's more like aerial ass. Rodrigo allows his Tropius to go down and brings in Zangoose looking for the Shadow Claw farm down. We do get it, but we're on minimal HP. The opponent's got Metachan in the back and we're in big trouble. Rodrigo fires the Night Slash. The opponent shields the first. Rodrigo not wanting to get countered down, switches out into Hawlucha. We do have to be wary of the Psychic due to our flying fighting typing that would hit for massive super effective damage. The opponent full sends it and pivot out into the tin can. So despite us being in a tricky spot, Rodrigo has a potential win con. Flying Press lands for huge damage. Holy smokes. I know Flying Press is one of the best moves in the game, but I really didn't expect it to do that much damage. Registeel now into the yellow. Unfortunately, we have Poison Jab, so we are not hitting for any sort of damage. Registeel easily surviving these, so Rodrigo can't farm down. He fires off one more Flying Press. This returns Reggie to its Pokeball. The Energy Drive Metachan does return Poison Jabs. Our neutral aerial ace is super effective, but is this going to be enough to knock out? No, it's not. Holy smokes, Niantic. What the heck is this move, aerial ace? Seriously, Metachan survives on minimal HP. They fire off the Psychic and we simul KO and get a tie. Niantic, you did this Pokemon dirty. Moving on to the next one. We see Purified Golbat in the lead. Our back tooth Pokemon really don't want to see any flying type damage, so Rodrigo chooses to stay and he fires off the Night Slash. You can see Zangoose has a massive attack stat as that gets them into the yellow. We tank the Poison Fang. Rodrigo is going to be able to fire off the next Night Slash. This will knock out or draw a shield from the opponent. The opponent chooses to shield it up and they do commit to the full wing attack farm down. Rodrigo sends out Tropius to absorb the energy. Let's see if the opponent YOLOs the Shadow Ball. Yes, they do, and holy smokes, Tropius, what a thick boy. We tank that fairly well. The subsequent wing attacks do add up. His Stunfisk in the back. The opponent pivots out into a Azumarill, and Hawlucha absolutely core breaking this opponent. Rodrigo with shield advantage can easily shield up the super effective Ice Beam or Play Rough. The opponent did fire off the Ice Beam. You might be thinking, why is Rodrigo firing off the resisted Flying Press? Is not exactly baiting, because believe it or not, Flying Press, even though it's resisted, is still better damage per energy than Aerial Ace. Need I say any more than Niantic, please buff this move. Rodrigo invests his final Protect Shield on the Ice Beam. We commit to the Poison Jab farm down on Hawlucha, now smelling blood. Fires off the Flying Press against an unshielded Bear Trap, and holy smokes, that does almost 80% of the HP. The opponent returns fire with a Rock Slide. Hawlucha stands there looking like Rey Mysterio Jr., tanking it on the chin. We make the final Flying Press, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see Zangoose into Stunfisk. Zangoose with access to close combat has huge nuke potential against this Bear Trap. Rodrigo fires off the close combat. There's no baiting. Does the opponent respect it? They do not. We land the close combat, and just like that, Rodrigo pivots out into Tropius, looking to catch the Earthquake, and he catches it. The Earthquake does absolutely nothing to Tropius. The opponent in absolute shambles pivot out into Sableye. They then throw on alignment. This opponent looking pretty tilted. Rodrigo in the driver's seat fires off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade goes unshielded. However, Rodrigo already at Leaf Blade. Number 2, is the opponent going to start investing shields? Yes, they are. The super bulky Tropius applying a lot of fast move pressure with the air slashes. Wasn't going to get farmed down as the opponent forced to fire off the foul play. We come back in to Zangoose looking for the farm down. We don't get it. The opponent fires off one final foul play and Zangoose does not tank that particularly well. The opponent's final Pokemon is Metachan, so Rodrigo firing off the Night Slash for some chip damage. He then pivots out into Hawlucha. Hawlucha should be prime to sweep this game. The opponent then makes a savage catch, returning the favour for the Earthquake catch earlier. However, with 2 shields, I highly doubt the opponent can win this game. Rodrigo shields up a potential Psychic and the opponent does throw the power-up punch. They still need to make 2 more charge moves. However, Hawlucha really starting to chunk with these poison jabs. The opponent full sends the Psychic the second time. Rodrigo continuing to overfarm, fires off the resisted Flying Press, but Metachan on minimal HP is forced to shield. Rodrigo makes the final Flying Press and we manage to take another impressive dub. Beautifully played in the opening matchup. The Earthquake catch, what a savage. Moving on to the next one. We see the battle of the Spice Lords. We've got our Zangoose into a Shadow Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl, an absolute glass cannon. So the opponent does shield up the Night Slash. We now pivot out into Tropius. Interesting. As the rock throws are super effective. And this Aerodactyl does resist our fast move of Air Slash. Rodrigo shield up the rock side, return fire with the Leaf Blade. And they allow it to go down. And holy smokes, they've got a Shadow Gramble. This must be a triple fast move pressure team and a triple shadow team. A huge shout out to this opponent. They shield up the Leaf Blade, commit to the charm down, farm down. Rodrigo sends back out Zangoose. That gets farmed down as well. It's now Hawlucha versus the world. If I had to guess, it might be a Shadow Vic in the back. We shield up the close combat and there is the Shadow Vic. But this Shadow Vic is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. They're going to be straight in and straight out. Aerial Ace returns Vic to its Pokemon. 2 more poison jabs is enough to take that game. Moving on to the next one, we see Zangoose into Metachan, an instant pivot into Tropius. It looks like the opponent is staying in. They attempt to catch an Aerial Ace onto the Bear Trap. Rodrigo holds his energy, fires off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade does hit for neutral and the opponent actually shields. That does surprise me as the Bear Trap is super thick and Tropius is super defense weighted. When Rodrigo lands this next Leaf Blade, you're going to see it's probably going to do maybe 30%. Yeah, 30%, nothing really to worry about. The opponent is going to fire off the Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to leave us deep in the red, but Tropius triple resists these mud shots, so we don't get farmed down. Rodrigo then makes a savage catch him back onto his Zangoose that looks pretty much dead weight. The opponent is temporarily switch locked, so Rodrigo does make the Night Slash. Night Slash won't knock out, but will leave Stunfisk deep in the red, and they fire energy. Rodrigo managing to pull himself out of a tricky spot. Rock Slide takes us out. Stunfisk is super low. They do triple resist poison jab, so let's see if Rodrigo can poison jab down in 5. They cannot. Holy crap. Then poison jabs doing absolutely nothing. We tank the Rock Slide. We do finally poison jab farm them all the way down. And the opponent has Registeel, so a double steel team from the opponent. Hawlucha looking prime to sweep. We fire off the Flying Press. Flying Press draws a shield. Hawlucha already at Flying Press. Number 2, this is going to do big damage to the Tin Can. Rodrigo now makes a savage catching the Zap Cannon on his Tropius. You absolutely love to see it. Rodrigo putting on a clinic. Back out comes Metachan. Rodrigo finally starting to shield as our Hawlucha is getting low. However, the opponent can offer very little fast move pressure as counter is resisted and lock on does nothing. We land the Aerial Ace, commit to the poison jab, farm down. We've got the Flying Press locked and loaded, and Rodrigo pulls off an incredible victory. Very well played. He even manages to save a shield for next season. Moving on to the next one, we see Zangoose into the Flying Toilet, aka Pelipper. Rodrigo goes straight for the Night Slash. It looks like a CMP ties. We didn't see any wing attack go through. Night Slash goes unshielded. It is a CMP And would you look at that? It's boost time. Rodrigo now investing his first Protect Shield on the Zangoose. He doesn't throw the Night Slash, so it looks like he's going to double shield and go for the Shadow Claw, farm down the opponent, realising they're going to get farmed down, switch out into Skunk Tank. They've got 2 shields. However, Zangoose has the back-to-back first close combat, draws a shield. Is the opponent going to give both them shields back? Zangoose not baiting. Close combat does go shielded. Rodrigo now sends out Tropius. I'm not entirely sure on this play. As you can see, Flamethrower is super effective, and so are the poison jabs. Rodrigo is going to make an aerial ace, but I highly doubt this KOs. Please knock out. It does not, so we are going to get poison jab farmed all the way down. It's now Hawlucha versus the world. The opponent is going to land one more Flamethrower. We do tank that. Not particularly well. Back out comes Pelipper. We managed to poison jab farm them all the way down. What can we beat in the back? A steel type? Let's find out. Well, we are going to land the Flying Press on this Skunk Tank. And it is a steel type in the back. Can we make the Flying Press? Yes, we can. Is Flying Press going to one-shot Ferrothorn? No, it's not. They survive on minimal HP. And due to their steel typing, they do single resist the poison jabs. And the opponent wins a very close game. Moving on to the next one, we see the Bear Trap in the lead. Let's see if Rodrigo manages to catch an Earthquake. Well, apparently we're not going to get the option as the opponent goes straight for a Rock Slide. And then you can see Zangoose, super glassy, doesn't tank that all that well. Rodrigo not baiting, going straight for the close combat. The opponent knows better than to call the bait, as Rodrigo absolutely is not baiting. However, he is going to shield up the next Rock Slide and get off the next close combat. But no, the opponent snipes with a charm from a Shadow Gramble. That's absolutely brutal. Rodrigo goes down with a lot of energy. Tropius enters the arena. We fire off the Leaf Blade, and of course the opponent commits a shield. However, Tropius, far too thick, makes Leaf Blade number 2. Gramble goes down. We pivot out into Hawlucha. Hawlucha looking for the sweep. This is definitely Flying Press range. The opponent fires the Rock Slide. Rodrigo shows no respect. He's continuing to overfarm, fires off the Flying Press on a CMP tie. High Stunfisk, buy Stunfisk, get fucking wrecked. The opponent has Swampert in the back. I really want to see how much this does. This move is only neutral, but wow. Swampert almost gets one shot. Rodrigo not even choosing to shield up the Hydro Cannon. The opponent goes for a no bubble and then top left. Oh my days. Moving on to the next one. Zangoose into Toxapex. I really need to try and compose myself after that endgame. We go straight for the Night Slash. Toxapex, super thick, and Night Slash does pretty much nothing. This is just a brine. However, Rodrigo choosing to shield it up. As Toxapex beats all 3 of our Pokemon, Zangoose firing off Night Slash. Number 2, come on, show me the boost. We don't get a boost, and Toxapex is still very healthy in the yellow. However, we make Night Slash number 3 on a CMP tie. Does the opponent give up a shield? They do not, which is probably best case scenario. For us, we've got rid of a huge threat for the team. Brine takes us out. We come in, 2 Tropius, 2 Air Slashes, take care of Toxapex. And the opponent comes into Dunsparce. Dunsparce are pretty good anti-fly with access to Rollout and Rock Slide. However, the big thick Tropius doesn't care about the Rock Slide. We tank it on our giant yellow chin. I don't know if that's a chin or teeth, but either way we tanked it. Nonetheless, we return fire with a Leaf Blade. The opponent didn't shield. They're still hanging on to 2. Rodrigo fires off the next Leaf Blade, which finally draws a shield. And now we see the battle of the fighters. It's Hawlucha versus top meta monster Metachan. Who will prevail? We fire off the Aerial Ace, which does pretty poor damage. Let's not kid ourselves. However, the poison jabs are really adding up. Rodrigo correctly shields up a Psychic. We're going to be able to poison jab, farm them all the way down before the next Psychic. I think this is just a power up punch, maybe an ice punch. Nope, just a pop. That does absolutely nothing. Hawlucha now smelling blood for about the 5th time in the video. Flying Press draws the final shield. The opponent is going to fire off the Rock Slide. Rock Slide won't knock out, but guess what, Dunsparce? This Flying Press most certainly will. GG's and thanks for playing. We have a longer video today with 3 full sets, but so far from what I've seen, Hawlucha looks very good. Moving on to the next battle. We see another purified Golbat in the lead. Why are people purifying Golbat? Are they running return? Probably not. but either way we land the Night Slash, the opponent returns fire. With the Poison Fang goes unshielded, the opponent now pivots out into a Galarian Linoon. Hello Spice. Rodrigo sends out Tropius. I'm not sure if I would have went Hawlucha myself, but it is what it is. You can see Body Slam doesn't do a whole heap of damage to Tropius. This Linoon is super spammy. They're already at Body Slam number 2 and they do win. Charge move priority. Rodrigo sends the Leaf Blade. In return, it looks like the opponent is looking to flip switch. Rodrigo makes the second Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade won't be lethal, so the opponent lets it go. You can't snarl down this giant angry looking bush. Can anyone tell me down below what the heck is this Tropius designed on? Is it a flying bush? I don't know. We now send out Hawlucha looking for the Poison Jab farm down. However, Linoon still not done, fires off the Body Slam. When Golbat does return, Hawlucha is going to take super effective. From the wing attacks, we've got residual energy. Good to go. So Rodrigo makes the Aerial Ace before Golbat makes the Poison Fang. That goes unshielded. We snipe with Zangoose and its Obstagoon in the back. They absolutely have to respect the double super effective close combat. So Hawlucha now with 2 shields just needs to leave this matchup with enough HP to survive. One wing attack as that Golbat is on a sliver of HP. The opponent fires off the Ob Shot. We make the Flying Press. I think we're outside of 1 wing attack range. I think at least, yes we are. We managed to take a very nice dub. Shout out to that opponent for a very fun theme team. Moving on to the next one. We see some more spice. The opponent running a Samurott. This is why I love the early seasons, as people run all sorts of spice. Rodrigo showed no respect to the Hydro Cannon. We near get one shot. Return fire with the close combat that near one shots the opponent. We actually managed to Shadow Claw down, so we do win the 0 shields. The opponent has Metachan, which has access to double super effective Ice Punch. However, Tropius, a pretty thick Wii tank it, the Air Slash is really starting to chunk Rodrigo over farming. Firing off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade draws a shield from Metachan. Metachan makes Ice Punch number 2 and Rodrigo chooses to invest his Protect Shield. We now throw the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is super effective. Can Tropius knock out Metachan with an Aerial Ace? We'll never find out as Metachan commits its final shield. Metachan deciding to dump energy. I wonder what they got in the back. If they're weak to flyers, Hawlucha should be in a good spot. We come in, look for the Poison Jab farm down. However, Metachan makes one final Ice Punch on 1 HP and a Dream. Rodrigo commits his shield, does get the full jab down this Galarian Stunfisk in the back. If I was the opponent, I'd just top left because they're about to be in a world of hurt. The first Flying Press lands for huge damage. Rock Slide gonna do about 50% of our remaining HP. However, we've got one more Flying Press, so the opponent just drawing out the inevitable, and we take another big dub. Moving on to the next one. Zangoose into Venusaur, 2 better responses in the back, so we see an instant pivot to Tropius. The opponent throws a few Vine Whips, switch out into the Bear Trap. The opponent throws on alignment. Tropius manages to get an entire 3 Air Slash. Rodrigo then fires off 1 quick move, then the move, which is the correct timing. So if you're using 2 turn versus 3 turn, so if you're Stunfisk in this matchup, you want to throw out 1, 4 or 7, which the opponent evidently isn't a fan of or doesn't know how to do. If you're Rodrigo using 3 turn versus 2 turn, you just want to throw on odd numbers. So you can see, due to the opponent throwing at absolute potato timing, Tropius is going to win the 0 shields. The opponent forced to shield it up, and due to our huge triple resistance to Mud Shots, we could actually play out this matchup, but Rodrigo choosing to take shield advantage instead. He then sends back out Zangoose, looking for the Shadow Claw farm down. The opponent makes one more Rock Slide, an instant no shield. There's no point in shielding up the Goose, as Venusaur would obliterate us with a Frenzy Plant regardless of how much HP we've got. Back out comes Venusaur. We fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash goes unshielded. We get the boost. We make Night Slash number 2 on a CMP tie. This will be lethal, so Venusaur chooses to commit the final shield. Even though we've got the boost, we allow ourselves to go down. Rodrigo choosing to put it all on Hawlucha. We are going to have to respect a potential Sludge Bomb. The opponent full sends it, as they're only going to make 1 charge move. Hawlucha gets the full Poison Jab farm down, and whole high Bastiodon double super effective flying press to the face. One doesn't quite knock out, but Hawlucha's got another one. And that is a beautiful sight, as I absolutely hate wall face. Get wrecked, trainer. We see a Azumarill in the next battle, a Pokemon I'd normally call the Mighty Blue Mouse. However, this one is yellow, so I suppose it's the Mighty Yellow Mouse. We pivot out into Tropius, and the opponent catches a Leaf Blade on Registeel, but either way, Tropius will be going for Leaf Blades in this matchup. It's pretty dreadful for us, so Rodrigo not in the best spot. The second Leaf Blade still leaves this shiny Registeel very healthy in the green. I wonder if the opponent is running a triple shiny team. Tropius, despite being a flyer, only takes neutral from electric due to grass resisting electric. Rodrigo continues to overfarm. He looks like he is going to look to pivot out of this matchup. We shield up the next Zap Cannon, and here's the pivot back into Zangoose, looking to draw back out the Azumarill. Here comes Azu, and unfortunately for us, we can only hit 4 resisted with our charge, whose Night Slash does nothing. We really need a boost to do any meaningful damage. Rodrigo fires off the close combat on a CMP tie. Close combat again doesn't do a lot, but it was a CMP tie, so nicely played there from Rodrigo. The opponent full sends the Hydro Pump. Wow, massive overkill on the squishy Zangoose. Rodrigo now sends out Hawlucha, looking for the ambitious Poison Jab farm down, but Azu far too thick. Rodrigo forced to invest. His final Protect Shield is now at a 0-2 shield disadvantage, and things are looking rough. We know they've got Registeel. What is the third? It's a Chestnut. Holy smokes, we have play. We go straight for the double super effective Aerial Ace. This is the one-time Aerial Ace. Looks decent, and Hawlucha does resist everything. Both Superpower and Frenzy Plant is resisted due to our flying typing. We get both shields with the Aerial Ace, and Rodrigo makes a huge play. Going for the CMP sack, we catch the Frenzy Plant. The opponent can't switch out as it was a CMP sack. Aerial Ace takes care of Chestnut. Back out comes Registeel. Surely Rodrigo doesn't pull off this game. Leaf Blade isn't going to knock out. Can the opponent lock on us down? No, they can't. Tropius again showing its bulk, makes one final Leaf Blade, and Tropius is a Regi counter confirmed. Moving on to the next one. We see Zangoose into Charm, Alolan Ninetales. I'm not sure if Charm's better or worse than Powder Snow. We are double weak to ice in the back. However, Hawlucha really doesn't want to see Charm either. We draw a shield with the close combat. The opponent goes for the full Charm down, Farm down. We send in Tropius. This Weather Ball is going to be double super effective. Rodrigo doesn't respect it, and the Charms are now tearing us apart. If the opponent chooses to double shield their lead, we could be in big trouble. The opponent does double shield to an aggressive switch into Hawlucha. We are going to have to shield up the Weather Ball. The opponent is unshielded. Do they let us jab all the way down? They do not. They send out Metachan. Metachan is going to be hit with the Aerial Ace, but we already know throughout the video it doesn't do a great deal of damage. Metachan still in the yellow. Rodrigo commits his final Protect Shield, and the opponent baits with a power-up punch. This game is now looking pretty over. We do fire off on a CMP tie to the next power-up punch. Flying Press takes care of Metachan. If they bring back in Ninetales, we will be able to jab down. They do send out Ninetales. We get the jab down. It's Bastiodon in the back, and no, we're going to lose to Wallface. We know this doesn't knock out. Rodrigo pivots out into Tropius. We need to make the Leaf Blade. We do not, and unfortunately Bastiodon manages to beat us. You absolutely hate to see it. Moving on to the next one. Rodrigo has his chance at redemption. We see public enemy number 1 Wallface in the lead. Come on, Rodrigo. Nuke this thing with a close combat. Rodrigo continuing to overfarm. He respects the Stone Edge. The opponent not wanting to play the bait game. Pivot out into Deoxys. Zangoose has Night Slash that hits 4 super effective, and the Shadow Claws are also super effective. The opponent didn't shield the first. Rodrigo fires the second. This gets Deoxys deep in the red, and we now come into Tropius to absorb all of the energy. It looks like the opponent doesn't have Rock Slide as they go for the neutral Thunderbolt. We then commit to the Air Slash Farm down. Back out comes Bastiodon. Due to the Rock, Steel type and Leaf Blade is neutral, but it probably does about as much damage as a single counter from a Shadow Machamp. Rodrigo fires out one more Leaf Blade, and Bastiodon finally now in the yellow. It looks like the opponent is committing to the full Smackdown Farm down. However, the super bulky Tropius makes one final Leaf Blade, and the opponent chooses to shield. Rodrigo sends back out Zangoose. The opponent still doesn't throw a charge with we fire off the Night Slash and the opponent shields. It looks like the opponent wasn't counting, which doesn't surprise me. Most Bastion users are unskilled, in my humble opinion. Sorry, not sorry. They look to win via pretty much fast move pressure and alignment. Bastion lands the Stone Edge. The opponent pivots out into Vic, looking to catch the flying press, but the only thing they catch is an aerial ace to the face. Aerial ace returns Vic to its Pokeball. Back out comes Bastion, and Rodrigo gets his redemption. Hi Bastion, bye Bastion. GG's and thanks for playing. Huge shout out to my good friend Rodrigo. That was an incredible showcase of not only Hawlucha, but 2 other regional Pokemon we don't see all that often in GBL. Tropius used to be pretty common until Walrein Community Day, and then it pretty much died off as Walrein absolutely deletes that. Now Walrein isn't that common. I think Tropius has some decent play. You could see had huge bulk and decent coverage. So if you'd like your battles featured on the channel, a link to my battle submission form is down below. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing, and I'd like to say thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.